The massive black dragon lay dying on a crystal platform floating in the middle of space. His name was Kael'thas, and he had been guarding the most important thing in the galaxy for over 3,000 years. Blood the color of liquid silver dripped from deep cuts across his body, each drop floating away in the zero gravity like tiny stars. Kael'thas' breathing came in short, painful gasps. His golden eyes, once bright as suns, were growing dim. The terrible creatures called the Void Swarm had finally broken through his defenses. These monsters were like space locusts, eating entire planets and leaving nothing behind but darkness. For centuries, Kael'thas had kept them away from the civilized worlds. Now he was losing. 10-year-old Darius Williams had his face pressed against the thick window of the human colony ship. His breath fogged up the glass as he watched the huge dragon struggle to stay alive. The ship was called Freedom's Dawn, and it carried 15,000 humans searching for a new home among the stars. "Grandma, is he really going to die?" Darius asked without looking away from the window. Captain Maya Johnson put her weathered hand on her grandson's shoulder. She was a tough woman who had led space missions for 40 years, but even she looked worried now. "I'm afraid so, baby. And when he goes, we all might be in serious trouble." The bridge was buzzing with nervous activity. Officers ran back and forth, checking their instruments and trying to understand what was happening. The Nexus crystal that Kael'thas protected wasn't just some pretty rock. It was like the internet for the entire galaxy, keeping billions of worlds connected to each other. Without it, every planet would be alone and defenseless. Commander Robert Hayes was studying the tactical display when he noticed something strange. The crystal that had been glowing bright blue for thousands of years was starting to flicker. "How long do we have?" he asked. Dr. Angela Brooks looked up from her medical scanner. She was the ship's expert on alien life forms, and right now her equipment was going crazy. "Maybe 6 hours before the crystal goes completely dark. His life force is what powers the whole system." "Life force?" asked Darius, finally turning away from the window. "Think of it like a battery," Dr. Brooks explained. "But instead of electricity, it runs on the dragon's spirit, his very soul. When that runs out..." She didn't need to finish. Everyone knew what happened to worlds when the Void Swarm found them alone and unprotected. Maya knelt down next to her grandson. "Darius, I need you to understand something. That dragon out there has spent his entire life keeping monsters away from planets like Earth. He's protected billions of people he's never even met, just because it was the right thing to do." The boy nodded slowly. He had always been smart for his age, maybe too smart sometimes. "Like a superhero?" "Exactly like a superhero. And now he's dying, and there's nothing we can do to help him." Through the window, they could see Kael'thas trying to lift his massive head. It was a struggle that took all his remaining strength. His neck, thicker than a subway tunnel, shook with the effort. The dragon's wings, which could have covered a football field, lay still and broken on the crystal platform. Other ships hung in space around the Nexus, representatives from dozens of different alien races. Everyone had come to witness the end of an era. Some of the alien vessels were sleek and silver, others looked like living creatures made of metal and light. But they all had one thing in common: they were all waiting helplessly for their guardian to die. "Why can't anyone else guard the crystal?" Darius asked. Commander Hayes overheard and shook his head sadly. "It doesn't work that way, son. The crystal bonds with one guardian at a time, and that bond lasts until death. It chose Kael'thas when he was young, maybe younger than you are now. He's been alone up there ever since." "Alone for 3,000 years. Darius's eyes went wide. "Dragons live a very long time," Dr. Brooks said softly. "But yes, he's been by himself all this time, protecting everyone else." The boy felt something strange in his chest, like a warm feeling spreading through his body. It started near his heart and moved outward, making his fingertips tingle. He had never felt anything like it before. On the platform, Kael'thas' great head turned slightly toward their ship. For just a moment, his golden eyes seemed to look directly at Darius through the window. The dragon's mouth opened as if he was trying to say something, but no sound could travel through the vacuum of space. That's when the boy heard it, not with his ears, but somehow inside his mind. A voice, ancient and tired, speaking words he had never learned but somehow understood perfectly. "Help me," the voice whispered. "Please, help me." The moment Darius heard the dragon's voice in his head, everything changed. The warm feeling in his chest suddenly exploded outward like lightning, and the boy gasped so loud that everyone on the bridge turned to look at him. His dark eyes rolled back until only the whites showed, and he started swaying on his feet like he might fall over. "Darius!" Maya rushed to catch her grandson, but before she could reach him, something incredible happened. The boy began speaking, but not in English. Strange, musical words flowed from his mouth, rising and falling like a beautiful song. The sounds were nothing like any human language anyone had ever heard. Dr. Brooks dropped her scanner in shock. That's impossible. Those are dragon words. No human has ever learned to speak Draconic. We don't even have the right vocal cords for it. But Darius kept talking, his young voice somehow making sounds that should have been impossible for a human throat. The alien officers on nearby ships were probably just as confused as the humans. Even they couldn't speak the ancient dragon language. Commander Hayes grabbed his communication device. All stations, report. Is anyone else seeing this? The responses came back immediately. Ships from 12 different alien races were all detecting the same thing. Somehow, impossibly, a human child was speaking perfect Draconic. And more shocking still, the dying dragon was responding. Through the window, they could see Kael'thas's massive head lifting with sudden interest. His golden eyes, which had been growing dim, now blazed with new light as he focused entirely on their ship. The dragon's mouth moved, and even though no one could hear him through the vacuum of space, they knew he was talking back to the boy. Inside Darius's mind, it felt like watching a movie that was being played at super speed. He saw images that weren't his own memories. He watched stars being born and dying. He saw the dragon as a young creature, barely larger than a horse, being chosen by the crystal to become its guardian. He felt the weight of protecting billions of lives, the crushing loneliness of standing watch alone for thousands of years. He's been so alone, Darius whispered, tears streaming down his face. He's protected everyone, but no one could keep him company. He's forgotten what it feels like to have a friend. Maya knelt beside her grandson, her own eyes filling with tears. She was a tough space captain, but seeing a child experience such ancient sadness broke her heart. Darius, baby, can you understand him? What's he saying? The boy's voice was soft and distant, like he was talking in his sleep. He says he's tired. So tired. He wants to rest, but he can't because then the monsters will come. He's been fighting them alone for so long that he doesn't remember what peace feels like. Dr. Brooks was frantically scanning the boy with every instrument she had. His brain activity is off the charts. It's like he's somehow connected directly to the dragon's mind across thousands of miles of space. But humans don't have telepathic abilities. This shouldn't be possible. Through their impossible connection, Darius could feel Kael'thas's surprise and wonder. The dragon had spent 3 millennia without anyone to talk to, without anyone who could understand the burden he carried. Now, suddenly, a small human child was sharing his thoughts and feelings. The boy saw flashes of the dragon's memories. He watched Kael'thas fighting the void swarm creatures, using fire and lightning to drive them back from populated worlds. He felt the dragon's determination to protect innocent people, even species he had never met. But mostly, he felt the incredible loneliness of being the only one who could do this job. He doesn't want to be alone anymore, Darius said, his voice getting stronger. He's not afraid of dying. He's afraid of leaving everyone unprotected. Commander Hayes leaned closer. Can you tell him that we're grateful? That we know what he's sacrificed for us? Darius nodded and spoke more of those impossible dragon words. Through the window, they saw Kael'thas's expression change. If a dragon could smile, that's what it looked like. For the first time in thousands of years, someone understood him completely. But the connection was taking its toll on the boy. His small body wasn't meant to handle the thoughts and emotions of an ancient cosmic guardian. His grandmother held him as he started to shake, his skin growing pale and cold. This is killing him, Dr. Brooks said urgently. His human mind can't process this much alien consciousness. If this continues much longer. Maya looked between her dying grandson and the dying dragon. Two hearts, separated by the vast emptiness of space, were somehow beating in rhythm with each other. She could see it on the medical monitors. Every time Kael'thas's heart struggled, Darius's heart skipped a beat too. They're connected now, she whispered. Really connected. If one of them dies. She couldn't finish the thought, but everyone understood. Somehow, impossibly, the fate of a human boy and an ancient dragon had become intertwined. The alarms started screaming all at once. Every screen on the bridge flashed red as the medical scanners tracking Kael'thas went flat. The ancient dragon's massive heart had stopped beating. Through the window, they watched his golden eyes close for what everyone thought would be the last time. No. Dr. Brooks frantically worked her controls, but there was nothing she could do from thousands of miles away. We've lost him. Kael'thas is gone. The Nexus crystal, which had glowed bright blue for 3,000 years, began to flicker like a dying light bulb. Each flash was weaker than the last. Across the galaxy, communication networks started shutting down as worlds lost contact with each other. It was like watching the internet die in slow motion. Commander Hayes grabbed his radio. "All ships, prepare for emergency protocols. The network is failing." But Darius wasn't listening to any of them. The 10-year-old boy felt something breaking inside his chest, like a rope snapping under too much weight. The connection he had shared with the dragon was tearing apart, and it hurt worse than anything he had ever experienced. "He can't die," Darius shouted, surprising everyone with the strength in his voice. "He's not ready. There's so much he still wants to do." Before anyone could stop him, the boy broke free from his grandmother's arms and ran across the bridge. His small feet slapped against the metal floor as he sprinted toward the massive observation window. Maya called out his name, but Darius was moving like he was being pulled by an invisible rope. He pressed both hands flat against the thick glass, his breath fogging up the surface. Through the window, Kael'tha's body lay completely still on the crystal platform. The dragon looked smaller somehow, like death had shrunk his massive form. "I won't let you be alone anymore," Darius whispered, his voice so quiet that only he could hear it. Something was building up inside the boy, something that had never existed in any human before. It started deep in his heart and spread through his whole body like warm honey. His skin began to tingle, and strange silver markings appeared on his arms, looking almost like dragon scales catching starlight. Dr. Brooks noticed the readings on her scanner going completely wild. "Maya, look at this. His life signs are spiking beyond anything I've ever seen. It's like his body is generating some kind of energy I can't identify." The boy closed his eyes and reached out with his mind, searching through the darkness of space for any spark of the dragon's consciousness. He found something, not life exactly, but not complete death either. It was like finding a tiny ember in a pile of cold ashes. Then Darius spoke a single word in perfect Draconic. His voice, small as it was, somehow carried impossible power that made the air around him shimmer like heat waves. The word was Velthara, and it meant something that hadn't been spoken in dragon culture for thousands of years. It meant heart-bound or soul-shared, the idea that two completely different beings could become one. The moment the word left his lips, Darius collapsed to his knees. But this time, he wasn't falling because he was weak. He was falling because he was giving everything he had, pouring his own life force across the emptiness of space toward the dragon. Everyone on the bridge watched in shock as light began streaming from the boy's body. It wasn't normal light, it was something deeper, like liquid starlight flowing through the air. The light passed right through the ship's hull as if it wasn't there and raced across space toward the Nexus platform. "What is he doing?" Maya whispered, kneeling beside her grandson. "I think," Dr. Brooks said slowly, "he's sharing his life with the dragon. But that should be impossible. Humans and dragons are completely different species. We can't just transfer life force like that." The light reached Kael'tha's still body and flowed into the dragon like water soaking into dry ground. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Nexus crystal blazed with light brighter than anyone had ever seen it. The dragon's eyes snapped open, burning gold like twin suns. But something was different now. Kael'tha's heartbeat showed up on their monitors, but it was beating in perfect rhythm with Darius's heart. The boy was unconscious, but his pulse was strong and steady. Silver markings continued to spread across his dark skin, creating intricate patterns that seemed to move and shift on their own. "Two hearts," Commander Hayes said in amazement, "beating as one." Through the connection that now bound them permanently, both the boy and the dragon shared the same life force. Darius had given Kael'tha half of his human spirit, while the dragon had shared his ancient cosmic power with the child. Neither of them would ever be alone again. The Nexus crystal pulsed with their combined heartbeat, stronger than it had been in centuries. Across the galaxy, communication networks came back online with more power and clarity than ever before. Maya held her unconscious grandson, watching as his breathing matched perfectly with the dragon's across the void of space. 3 weeks had passed since the bonding, and everything had changed. Darius sat in the captain's chair on the Bridge of Freedom's dawn, but his eyes weren't looking at anything in the room. Instead, they glowed with a soft golden light that matched Kael'tha's dragon eyes perfectly. The boy was somewhere else entirely, seeing the galaxy through ancient eyes while his human mind processed information no child should be able to understand. "Incoming Void Swarm ships, Sector 7. Darius said calmly, his young voice carrying an odd echo that reminded everyone of distant thunder. "They're trying to circle around the defense fleet, but I can see their pattern." Commander Hayes looked at his tactical display and swore under his breath. The enemy ships were still too far away for their sensors to detect, but somehow the boy knew exactly where they were. How many ships are we dealing with, son? Darius tilted his head slightly, like he was listening to something only he could hear. Through his bond with Kael'thas, he could see the battlefield from high above while his human brain quickly calculated the best strategies. 4 to 7 void swarm vessels, moving in a spiral formation. They think they're being clever, but they don't understand how humans fight. Dr. Brooks watched her instruments in amazement. The readings showed that Darius's brain was working at incredible speeds, processing information from both his human knowledge and Kael'thas' ancient memories at the same time. His neural activity is off the charts, but somehow his mind isn't burning out. It's like the dragon's consciousness is protecting him from the overload. Maya stood behind her grandson's chair, one hand resting protectively on his shoulder. The silver markings on his skin had grown more elaborate over the past weeks, creating beautiful patterns that seemed to shift and dance when he was using his powers. Are you okay, baby? You're not pushing yourself too hard? I'm fine, Grandma, Darius smiled, and for a moment he looked like a normal 10-year-old boy again. Kael'thas is helping me. He's teaching me how to think like a dragon while I show him how humans solve problems. We make a pretty good team. Through the view screen, they could see flashes of light in the distance where Kael'thas was fighting. The dragon moved through space like a living comet, breathing cosmic fire that could melt through enemy ships like they were made of paper. But now his attacks were different, more precise, more strategic. Instead of just using brute force, he was following complex battle plans that combined dragon magic with human military tactics. Strike Team Alpha, move to coordinates 447 by 892, Darius instructed, speaking into the communication system. The Void Swarm always leaves their left flank weak because they don't think anyone is smart enough to notice. Hit them there, and their whole formation will collapse. The human fleet moved according to the boy's directions, and sure enough, the enemy formation started falling apart exactly as he had predicted. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were being outmaneuvered by tactics they had never seen before. This is incredible, Commander Hayes said, watching the battle unfold on his screens. We're actually winning. For the first time since this war started, we're pushing them back. But the most amazing thing wasn't the military victory. It was watching how the bond between Darius and Kael'thas was changing both of them. The dragon, who had been alone for 3,000 years, was learning what it felt like to have a true friend. His ancient heart, which had grown cold from centuries of solitude, was warming up again thanks to the boy's innocent joy and enthusiasm. At the same time, Darius was growing in ways that no human child ever had. The dragon's vast knowledge was flowing into him, teaching him about the history of the galaxy, the secrets of cosmic energy, and the responsibility that came with great power. But unlike Kael'thas, Darius didn't have to carry this burden alone. The Void Swarm is retreating, Darius announced, his glowing eyes returning to their normal brown color. They've never faced anything like this before. They don't know how to fight against two minds working together. Dr. Brooks checked her readings and shook her head in wonder. The energy signatures I'm detecting from both of them are unlike anything in our databases. It's like they've created an entirely new form of life, part human determination, part dragon wisdom. Through their mental link, Darius could feel Kael'thas' happiness. The ancient guardian was no longer just surviving each day, hoping to hold back the darkness a little longer. Now he had hope, purpose, and most importantly, he had a friend who understood him completely. You know what the best part is? Darius asked his grandmother, grinning like the kid he still was underneath all that cosmic power. What's that, baby? Kael'thas told me he's been lonely for so long that he forgot how to laugh. But yesterday, when I showed him a funny memory about you teaching me to ride a bike, he actually giggled. Can you imagine? A 3,000-year-old dragon giggling like a little kid. Maya smiled and hugged her grandson tightly. The war was far from over, but for the first time in years, she actually believed they might win. 1 year had passed since that incredible day when a dying dragon and a human boy changed the fate of the entire galaxy. Now, 11-year-old Darius Williams stood on the crystal platform that floated in the middle of space, breathing cosmic energy as easily as if it were regular air. The silver markings that had first appeared on his arms now covered most of his body in intricate patterns that sparkled like living starlight. He no longer needed a spaceship or a protective suit to survive in the vacuum of space. The bond with Kael'thas had changed him in ways that amazed even the galaxy's smartest scientists. His human lungs could now process the energy that flowed between stars, and his heart beat in perfect harmony with the ancient dragon who stood beside him. Kael'thas looked different too. His obsidian scales now shimmered with hints of silver that matched Darius's markings, and his golden eyes held a warmth they had never possessed during his lonely centuries as guardian. The dragon had grown larger and stronger, fed by human determination and creativity that had rekindled his ancient power. "Remember when you could barely lift your head?" Darius asked, running his small hand along the dragon's massive neck. "Now look at you. You're practically glowing with energy." The dragon's rumbling laughter made the crystal platform vibrate gently. "And remember when you were just a scared little boy pressed against a spaceship window? Now you're breathing starlight and speaking to cosmic entities like old friends." Around them, the Nexus crystal pulsed with their combined heartbeat, but it wasn't the same crystal that had powered galactic communications for thousands of years. This new crystal was something entirely different, brighter, stronger, and filled with the energy of two souls working together instead of one ancient guardian carrying the burden alone. Ships from every corner of the galaxy hung in space around the platform, their crews watching in amazement as the boy and dragon demonstrated their incredible partnership. Admiral Maya Johnson, formerly captain of Freedom's Dawn, floated nearby in her command vessel, her weathered face beaming with pride as she watched her grandson. "Status report from all sectors," she spoke into her communication device. "How are the new Guardian pairs working out?" The responses came back from dozens of different star systems, each one more incredible than the last. Dr. Brooks, now the head of the new Interspecies Bonding Research Division, coordinated the reports from her mobile laboratory. "The Centauri system reports successful bonding between a human engineer and a crystalline entity," she announced. "They've managed to boost their planetary defense grid by 300%. The Vega colonies have paired human pilots with energy beings, creating the fastest patrol ships we've ever seen." Commander Hayes, now in charge of the new Guardian training program, added his own report. "The most successful partnerships seem to be between humans and species that have given up hope. Our natural optimism and refusal to quit is exactly what these ancient Guardians needed." It was true. All across the galaxy, humans were forming bonds with creatures and entities that had been protecting their worlds alone for centuries. The pattern was always the same: an ancient, powerful guardian who had grown tired and lonely, suddenly revitalized by human friendship and determination. Darius smiled as he felt the happiness radiating from dozens of newly bonded pairs through the cosmic network. "It's working exactly like we hoped it would. Nobody has to be alone anymore." The Void Swarm, meanwhile, had been pushed back to the very edge of the galaxy. These creatures that had terrorized civilizations for millennia couldn't understand how to fight against opponents who worked together so perfectly. Every time they attacked a world, they found it protected by guardian pairs who anticipated their moves and countered their strategies. "The beautiful thing about humans," Kael'thas said, his ancient voice filled with wonder, "is that you make friends with everyone. Even grumpy old dragons who thought they were too proud to need companionship." Ambassador Tivek of the Stellar Council floated nearby in his diplomatic vessel, still trying to understand what he was witnessing. "In all my years of studying different species, I have never seen anything like this. Humans don't just form alliances, you form genuine emotional bonds that make both parties stronger." Darius looked out at the ships surrounding them, each one carrying representatives of species that had once faced their problems alone. Now they were all part of a vast network of partnerships that spanned the entire galaxy. "My grandma always told me that the best way to solve any problem is to find good friends to help you," the boy said. "I guess she was right. Even cosmic problems get easier when you don't have to face them by yourself." The age of lonely guardians was officially over. In its place had begun the age of bonded protectors, where no world had to depend on a single ancient being sacrificing everything for others. Now the galaxy was protected by pairs, by friendships, by the uniquely human belief that everyone deserves companionship. As Darius and Kael'thas watched the sun set on one era and rise on another, both of them knew they had started something that would last forever. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest lesson, that nobody should ever have to face the darkness alone.